You have entered the realm of dead air. For the next 2 hours, you will be transported into the world of the strange and the supernatural. You might not feel the need to cleanse your laptops or mobile devices afterwards. But it might not be a bad idea.
You know, I don't understand why we have to work on Easter. You know, our producer, he goes out to a concert last night. He's been relaxing all day, recovering from his hangover.
You don't have to work on Easter. I'm going on a hunt that day.
Are you?
I are.
Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Dead Air Live on the Dead Air Full Spectrum channel. It is our Sunday night show, 8 p.m. as always. Thank you guys for joining us for the best in paranormal discussions. Guests, our topics tonight are going to be awesome. Our guests tonight are going to be awesome, and we thank you guys for joining us. We are simulcast with KGRADB.com, KGRA on Facebook, and I'm going to slow down a little bit so that Ken can get over to all the different banners.
You totally lost me. Okay. KGRADB.com.
Said that. Yeah. All right. Twitter, Global Radio Live, and YouTube at Dead Air Nation. And also catch us on our new Patreon channel. Also, you guys make sure that you subscribe. You also hit that reminder bell and a thumbs up for all of the content with our wonderful guests and topics. How are you doing tonight, Ken?
I'm doing well. It's been a busy week. Speaking of Patreon,
yes.
A lot of loading and uploading. If you're not a member, you have missed equipment reviews, how to investigate with how to purchase a recorder, what you need, how to capture EVPs, investigation footage, photos, reaction videos. You're missing a lot out there. So, hey, listen, for $3, support the channel. And we keep saying this. And until Starbucks sponsors us, we'll keep saying this.
We're both really tired. It's been a lot of work.
Cheaper than a latte at this point. So come and see what we got in store for you. I know you'll have a good time.
No doubt about that. Oh, good morning from Sydney, Australia. Well, thank you very much.
Good morning.
Kelly, what time is it over there in Sydney? Would love to know.
Kelly, what time is it from over there? Thanks for staying up with us.
We are going in a completely different direction tonight. That you guys are always used to us talking ghosts. We're going to go there, but we're also going to be talking about events, and we're talking about the psyche level. You know, where we are as far as spiritual for both hours. And I can't wait for that chance and an opportunity for us to talk to our guests. One of the things
we have an opportunity, I know I do, to learn a little bit more about this tonight.
Yeah,
because we come from a kind of different realm, so we want to get into a little bit because we have so many people who join us who talk about Reiki and healing and energy work and things like that. So we want to kind of represent our audience tonight and get into some basics with it. And so if you have questions, as always, throw them up in chat. We'll mark them, and we'll, before we let our guests get out of here, if time allows, we'll get them up there.
Ken and I are mechanics. We want to know how gasoline works, so that's why
under the hood.
We're going outside of the comfort zone, which we love to do from time to time. Hey, anybody that's out there that just tends to peruse social media may have come across the name Ruby Franke, and there's big things. There's been stuff on social media, and now the latest episode of 2020 on Hulu highlighted this atrocious story. Here's the funny part about it. She's what's called a momfluencer. She's a YouTuber who talks about disciplining her children and taking care of. And there's 6 different kids, and again, some of it was tough love kind of a thing. Well, turned out that love was pretty tough, because bottom line of it is it was torture. One of her children wound up going to a neighbor's house, ringing on the doorbell and asking for food and water. He had duct tape and rope around his wrists and his ankles. He was emaciated, and thank goodness the police in Utah did not hesitate to get over there to her co-conspirator, Jody Hildebrandt's house, and pull her out from there, and then get Ruby Franke a little while later on. Sentencing happened. That's why it's back in the news. 30 years total, not consecutive or congruent because of the crimes, but in total. Ken, is that enough for somebody like this?
No, and I know you've got some more slides you want to get into. I will give you some really quick thoughts, because honestly, I don't want to give this woman much more attention than I'm just glad she's in custody right now.
Yeah, but of course, here we go. Now, she's a Mormon from Utah, but again, you hear this time, at least Son of Sam blamed that on a dog. But here they go again. It was demons, that she was fearful of. She called her children spawns of Satan. And I look at the bottom of this next one here, where it says, "The devil wants me in prison." This is, again, let's not take the responsibility for our actions. Let's put it somewhere else. And I just like to say, Satan, from the human race side, sorry that we're putting all the blame on you. You do have certain blame, no question about it. But human actions like this, let's make you the scapegoat, because it's easier. I've seen the wickedness and what I've done, and now I'm gonna be better now about it. It's just time and again we see this over again from the human's perspective. We have a lot of people that are like this, and it's a shame. But yeah, that's what's going on in the news right now. And I know, again, those of you that have been out there paying attention to this, we wish it was 60, 90 years rather than 30, but that at least keep them away from their children or anyone else's children in the near future. So that's important. But all right, so we want to get forward here. We got some great guests and a lot to cover tonight. And Ken, I'll turn it over to you, sir, if you would like to do the introductions.
Sure, I absolutely would. We're going to bring these three people on individually right now and say hello. First of all, Theon Paulino-Filippelli is a well-rounded psychic medium, remote viewer, a healing channel, intuitive development instructor, and mentor, as well as the founder of the Evolve Me community. We're going to talk a lot about that tonight. She's the host of a podcast show, Paranormal Mediums, and volunteers her time working with investigators and families on cold cases, which include murders and missing persons. So she is the founder of Evolve Me. So let's bring Theon on right now and say hello to her. Hi, good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Very good. We're doing great. Now, our next guest is joining us.
Whoa.
We have him for an hour.
Ask her where she's from.
Theon, please.
I'm from West Palm Beach, Florida.
Florida. There we go. Sorry. Ken, you may continue.
I'm from Tiverton, Rhode Island. Ever hear of it?
Yes. Well, actually, I'm originally from New York City. So, I'm very familiar with the Northeast.
Right. Yeah. Bristol, right near Newport.
Yeah.
Yes.
You had to steal my thunder, didn't you? Okay.
That's right.
Continue on.
All right. Our next guest is Joshua Lewis, who is the founder of Hope Paranormal. He is the author of Finding Hope in the Afterlife and creator of the Hope Spirit Box. He's a talented clairvoyant and medium who has conducted over 3,000 mediumship readings and over 500 private box sessions for clients spanning a decade. He's an expert in ITC technologies. That's interesting, on a physical and metaphysical level. And we've got some questions about that. So please welcome to the show, Joshua Lewis. Hi, Joshua.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Hey, Theon.
Hey, Josh.
Hey, Josh, where are you from?
Well, I'm in West Palm Beach as well.
Florida.
I'm from the Northeast as well, though, so it's kind of the same pattern that Theon is from.
New
thing.
Jersey, so same exact thing there.
Yeah.
And Ken, we have one more guest joining us.
Yes, you do. How
I
did
wonder
you
where
book
she's
these?
from.
How did you book these people? Did you just open up a window and yell out?
It's right down the street. It's the way it works.
Whoever responded, is that it? And finally, last but not least, Debra Lynne Katz is a PhD in psychology and master's degree in social work. She founded the International School of Clairvoyance and has been the lead instructor since its inception. She is the current president of the International Remote Viewing Association. Without further ado, let's bring Debra on as well.
Hello, Debra.
Debra.
No,
Hey,
no,
Debra.
no chance you're from Florida, Debra, are you?
I am not from Florida, but I am looking forward to going there in just about a month.
Yes,
But
right.
I'm in Oregon right now. I'm from Chicago originally, but moved to Oregon a few years ago.
This is going to be, well, I don't know, guys. My Floridians. Will she still be safe in another month before we get to that sweltering heat? What do you think?
Yeah, it should be good.
Yeah.
You should be okay. 80s. We'll be in the 80s at that time, Debbie. You'll be okay. You won't melt yet from Oregon.
I can handle the 80s. Any higher than that, I think I will just melt.
Yeah.
Debra, we have a bunch of people from Florida talking about the heat. I mean,
I'm really spoiled because it really, in the summer here, we're right on the coast and it doesn't really get above 80, 85 at the most. So getting really spoiled.
Oh,
All
well,
right.
you'll be right at home here then for about 3 days, and that'll be about it. The humidity and the thunderstorms that time of the year, but we are so thrilled that you guys are going to be having an event, which I want to go ahead and bring up that screen for us right now. The main reason why I reached out to Theon, and then we were able to get both of you on also, is this fantastic idea, the Ultimate Paranormal Experience, Intuitive Development, and Paranormal Investigation Retreat. It's, again, 3 days of exploration of my backyard, St. Augustine, Florida. And I would just like to start off by asking whoever would like to answer this, how this concept came about and why you decided, because again, you're in West Palm Beach, which is roughly 2.5, 3 hours south of us, why you chose St. Augustine.
Well,
Say
Go ahead,
Go
Theon.
ahead, Josh. Oh no. Well, Josh and Debra and I are very into the paranormal, and Josh and I have gone to St. Augustine and meet quite frequently. And I always said this would be a great place to do paranormal investigations and learn a little bit about the oldest city in the U.S. So we all kind of got together and decided to bring this retreat kind of to life, and all with very similar but different, backgrounds and specialties, I guess. We wanted something kind of extreme, something that most people, as far as retreats go, don't necessarily get a chance to do. So I'll let Josh kind of explain that a little bit more to you.
Josh?
Yeah, I actually started doing some live events a few years ago called the Hope Afterlife Experience. And the first event I held was in St. Augustine. And so the first day we would do a paranormal investigation. I chose the lighthouse, which just is such an iconic place. And man, it was just an amazing location to do, the investigation there. The second day I gave a presentation and a workshop in a conference room at the hotel. And I was able to teach people, educate them on what I do, and then also kind of help them, do some water ITC and spirit photography and do some other cool things. And then the third day I did a group gallery, a gallery group session where we reached out to people's loved ones. So This event is kind of keeping a little bit of that, but it's actually now it's like on steroids, where it's got Theon there. It's got Debra, who is a mentor of mine. She taught me a lot of what I know as far as the intuitive stuff that I've learned. And so just to be able to, work with an amazing intuitive like Theon, and then of course to bring in Debra, who's just meant the world to Theon and myself, I think is just an honor. And so, we wanted to bring it back to St. Augustine. I've done New Orleans, I've done Savannah. We did a really cool event in Charlottesville, Virginia, where the Irva Monroe conference took place. That was really great. So back to St. Augustine, though, Excuse me. Sorry.
No problem.
Yeah. And I was just going to say, in the United States, there's so many places that just look the same. Wherever you go, there's the same shopping mall, there's the same Walmart and everything else. And it just, there's very few places anymore that still really hold their unique history and look, and where you're there and you just feel like you're transported into the past. And so I'm super excited about going, just because that's a place I want to hang out at, and then when it has so much history, there's going to be so many different opportunities to communicate with the various spirits there. And, there, of course, when you're going to do investigations, a lot of times there could be, spirits that are stuck or more negative. But I think with our energy, we're really interested in communicating with spirits that are both able to communicate in a really strong way and to get communications, but from positive spirits. So we're putting that out there, because I know a lot of people that Theon and I interface with, and I know Josh as well, but we want to keep the vibration high and not go into, like, as you were talking about before we came on, demonic spirits or anything like that. So we're setting the energy really high, and we're also going to be teaching protection exercises, boundary setting exercises, and helping people learn how to tune in, because, as I think Josh can speak to really well, is that we really Josh is the kind of paranormal investigator who is also psychic at the same time. There tends to be a divide between those that investigate paranormal sites, and then they might bring in a psychic, but they're not oftentimes psychic themselves. And so that's the difference here, is where we'll all be using our abilities as we go along and teaching the students how to do that too. So it's a chance to, in the moment, practice what we're going to be teaching them when we're at the Hyatt Hotel getting started, and then we'll go out to the sites and investigate.
Is it safe to say that all of you are going to be coming this? I mean, obviously you have a commonality, but are all of you during this event going to be coming at this from specific areas, in terms of investigation, in terms of, intuitiveness, clairvoyance, people with those abilities? Are all of you going to be handling different segments of this before, it all comes together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Josh is really like the leading paranormal expert when it comes to doing investigations and using different technology. And I'm sure he can tell you all about that here. And then I and Theon will be offering the intuitive development part. I mean, Josh will too, because he has great exercises as well, but we'll be specializing in that. And then Theon is also a terrific tour guide and entertainer, and along with everything else. So she'll be helping to keep everybody organized and happy and everything like that. Josh, do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just kind of cut in when I first started, almost 12 years ago, I was, kind of, there was a team locally here that was really great at, they were really by the book as far as paranormal investigation goes, doing residential cases and things like that. And so they taught me a lot of what I know as far as the protocol goes. Over time, and I did a lot of, residential cases, and so what I found was, like Debra was saying, there is a big divide. There's sometimes a medium that's brought on a team, but a lot of those guys are really kind of nuts and bolts, and they're really, trying to debunk everything, which is a great thing to do. I mean, this isn't about believe everything, I mean, that's not the way we work. The goal is to go in, if you're doing a residential case, I mean, a lot of times, you have to really get into the dichotomy of the family. What's going on? Is there mental illness? Is there, all kinds of things that are happening that are not necessarily paranormal? So some of these boxes have to be checked, or you have to really kind of run down that list. But, I found that a lot of groups would like to sit in a location for hours, sometimes, camp overnight kind of thing. And I think that there's something really cool about that. What I found is that being an intuitive and developing my intuitive ability, my psychic mediumship, I found that when I went into a location, I didn't need to sit for hours to wait for something to happen. Now, is that something that people should do? Yes. I'm not saying that they shouldn't. I'm not putting that down. I just found that, I could tune in to what's going on. I could ask for the spirits that are there that wanted to communicate, and that I could use a number of different ITC, instrumental transcommunication tools to communicate with the souls there. And so what would normally take 5 hours or something, I could kind of get some more information within a couple hours, or, and so that's kind of what my investigations have kind of evolved to, that I'm not really going to wait for the cat ball to get moved for 2 hours. I'm really trying to use some of the tools that I have, the voice recorders, the advanced boxes and things that, that I'm using, and of course I may play with a meter or two once in a while. I may, use some other tools, but really I'm trying to use my intuitive ability and pair it with the technology to really kind of bring it together, so that we can kind of validate what I'm getting, or the other intuitive is getting on internally, and trying to validate it. So, that's just it's kind of evolved over the years, and that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Now, when we're talking about a paranormal investigation, do you have a specific location already set up and picked out?
We're doing the lighthouse again.
Very
We're
good.
doing the old lighthouse again, because it's just such a great location. I loved it. When we went there, I brought the group there. I had about 20 people. We went into the base of the lighthouse, and right away I pulled out the digital voice recorder, started capturing EVP. There were some names that we were identifying. Then we went over to the house that they have there, and just kind of went from room to room, and kind of, the group just kind of, everyone kind of gathered within the room. I would ask people what they're feeling, if they're picking up on anything themselves. And then I would, kind of feel something myself. And then I would either pull out my app, or I would pull out my physical box, and I would start trying to dialogue. And what's great is that, you're going to hear things in real time. You're going to hear yeses and nos. You're going to hear I'm here. Or, sometimes you get a get out, someone doesn't want to talk, and they might say something like that. I don't encounter much demonic or very, many negative souls anymore. I just don't. It's rare that I do. I used to encounter them early on, but I don't anymore. I think I'm hoping it's because my vibration has been, it kind of went up some, kind of like what Debra was talking about. But, what's cool about it is that the majority of what you capture, you really have to go back into the review afterwards. That's where the gold is found. That's where the treasure is found, is that you can ask 10 questions, let's say, and you may hear the answer to 1 or 2 of them in real time. But you're going to get more answers that you're just not going to hear in real time. That's the way ITC works. So you really have to go back and really thoroughly review your evidence, visual and the audible, the audible evidence. And then, I always put videos together afterwards, and then I post those for people to see on the channel or to the event attendees. And you'd be amazed at what comes through that you're not hearing in real time, but is there.
Yeah. I wouldn't be amazed. I've been doing this for about 50 years, Josh, So,
It's awesome.
I find myself like always more of a documentarian. I mean, whether it's visual or audible. Theon, as far as investigation, I know that you've worked with law enforcement, you work with families on some of these things. I don't know the depth of, paranormal investigation that you have. You could tell us a little bit about that. But certainly there seems to be an interesting dichotomy in the metaphysical and the technological when those two things come together, because of course you want to document and use equipment and things like that. But there's also a connection that you're trying to make. So tell us a little bit about you and Debra, maybe about the approaches on that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I also, Debra is my mentor. And, I've learned so much from her. And one thing, I came into my practice as a natural skeptic. Coming from, highly Catholic background, I have always just been naturally skeptical. When I started going to Debra's school, that was exactly, what I needed to hear, because she was very much the same, a natural skeptic. So, people always think because you're intuitive and you're doing investigations, you just think everything is true. It's not. It's in fact, we are more discerning in a lot of ways because we've studied for years with our intuitive abilities, but now within investigations, it's almost like we have a second tool to utilize while we're doing investigations. So, for me, yes, I and this is why I, started actually working with Debra on remote viewing, and then it kind of, evolved into working with, families and investigators on, missing persons cases. So, and that takes a great deal of, evidence. I'm not just saying, you were,
Right. Sure.
just that kind of basic stuff that you would usually hear. I have to get real evidence in order to help these families. So, and that's something that Debra has taught me, and it just naturally carried over into my investigations. And very much like Josh and Debra, I am more interested in understanding, knowing about these spirits, the place that we're at, or the history. And it's not about, trying to provoke some sort of phenomena, because, in my daily life, I'm continuously getting phenomena. So it's more important for me to understand the spirit, the energy of the space, and definitely the evidence. That's the most important, and being able to discern what is evidence and what is not. So, yeah.
And Debra, this is a nice balance. And the reason why I see it is that a lot of times there's a lot of technology used, and everybody, brings a lot of equipment. And sometimes it's a little daunting for people who maybe aren't that interested in the equipment, but they want to have a spiritual experience, because it's enough. Not everybody is out there trying, I have to prove this to science. Sometimes people just want their own personal experience. So this is a nice balance, because those people probably won't feel as intimidated by going in there and seeing all, everybody with the gadgets and everything. Believe me, I own a lot of them, but, it seems like a welcoming thing to people who may not be that, which is fine, but there's room for both. So it's a nice welcoming atmosphere, I think.
Yeah, I really appreciate that you said that, because that is so true. Even myself, I I like to think of the tools that I use are internal. I carry them with me, and it's so much easier. My husband's a mechanic, and we have like thousands of tools everywhere, inside, outside our house, and it just seems just cumbersome. I just like to know that I could just get myself somewhere, which is hard enough these days, out of the house, somewhere with my suitcase, and I don't need a lot of stuff because I have my internal tools, and I have Josh who's walking around with his tools, Theon with some of hers. So I'm someone personally where I like to just kind of tag along and see what they're doing with the equipment, and then be reading everything from an energy perspective. And so, yes, definitely, I'm sure we'll have some other participants with us along those lines as well. And
Sure.
there's no reason why we all have to be an expert in everything. So that's one reason the three of us are coming together, so we could complement each other. And then also, it's really exciting because we get to really have a peek into the afterlife, to really understand what is life like after death, and why are some spirits seeming to still stick around and want to communicate and others aren't. There's so many questions and mysteries even amongst those who study these topics all the time. There's just so much that we don't know, and there's a certain level of what we could learn, like if we're doing just straight mediumship or working with clients from home or at a distance, but to actually get to experience the spirits in the physical space, that's a whole different level of exploration.
Yeah. A question for all of you, because I mean, the idea of where do we go, probably the most important question is, when we go, do we retain our human characteristics, our memories, our personalities? Do we carry that over? Does our soul kind of carry that energy over instead of just this meat suit that we have on this plane? So I guess that's the existential question. But from the millennia, people have asked this question. And I mean, I think there's something noble about it to ask, where do we go? Do you think, and we can go right around the board here, do you think that we have made inroads in answering that question? Perhaps not totally, but certainly more than, I don't know, pick a random time, a century ago, 50 years ago, 10 years ago, because there seems to be so much more of an interest in this, and people are turning to something bigger than them. Because I've always felt that these kind of things are cyclical. When the world is in turmoil and we're having our travails, people turn more toward the spiritual. And it's been that way during wars and coming out of wars. And I mean, the way the world is now, I think people need this badly. So do you see that we're making advances toward maybe setting up generations to come that they can answer that question? Where do we go? What happens to us? So whoever wants to
Yeah.
lead off here can go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, well, think about the ancient Egyptians. They I feel like they knew more than we do. There, something that kind of happens in cycles, right? Like you were saying, where we at certain points within history, we've kind of lost our way, I guess, spiritually, and then came back. And I feel like there is more of a wave of going within, especially with some of the things that are going on in the world. That's kind of our natural thing, is when there's a lack of mistrust and things like that. People go within, but science is already starting to prove a lot of this stuff. I mean, I always say science is catching up, but within it really depends on the groups, because there is a lot of conditioning that we all have to go get over, and there's within my own, thought forms and things like that, I've had to overcome to be open enough to, to open myself up, I guess, to this, to what happens after death. Being that I do speak to people that have passed a great deal, I don't fear death anymore. I know that there's something else. There's more, and us retaining a piece of ourselves. Absolutely, I definitely know that on some level. We're much bigger than just this lifetime, but I don't want to get into all of that, but but yes, in some aspects, some iteration, we definitely do retain, because how else do people come speak to their lost loved ones, and for them to remember specifics on their relationship. So yeah, I definitely believe that.
Well, they just need a platform.
Yeah.
And that's what you provide. Debra, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, just as Dan said, when you said have we grown in this area or learned more, my question was, well, who is we? If you're talking about Western society, I would say in the recent 100 years compared to even 50 years ago, there's been a difference. But in terms of awareness, I think in the early part of the century, more people were plugged into spiritualism, the spiritualist movement, and maybe more people overall as a society were talking about this, sometimes a lot more skeptically, but then we kind of got away from it for a while, and now we're returning, if we as in the United States. But I really find, speaking to your question, that when people pass on, there seems to be so many different things that happen. And this is why it's confusing, because some really do seem to retain the personality. If you tune into them clairvoyantly, they appear as they did. Now, sometimes they're appearing right like they did when they died, or sometimes when they're much younger in a more idealized state. So there's a difference just if they even do seem to show themselves as, as the stable personality that they were, with some changes in physicality. But then it also seems like some people, as soon as they die, like you can't find them. Like it's as if like they don't exist anymore. Like, or they just seem so far away, like you cannot get any signal for them. And then there's other people where it's as if they're expanded. Like if you tune into them, their consciousness is just so expanded. They're not in any kind of a consolidated form anymore. And I've had it where I had a good friend who died, who he knew so many different people, and everyone, and he knew a lot of psychics, and they all said the same thing. They were like, I kind of thought he'd like visit me afterwards, or I'd have a sense of him. And instead, when I tune into him, he just seems like spread out, like he's as big as the universe, not just this consolidated person. And so I think all of those things are going on at once. And I think that even within the same individual, when they first die, it might be different than after they've been gone for a while. So this is why it gets really hard to really understand it all. And then I'll just add one more thing, is that also then in us trying to understand them, we're trying to understand them through our own faulty perceptions, cloudy lenses, distorted ideas of things. And so you put that all together, and also that when spirits are communicating, some can communicate strongly and others just can't get their communication through. So, and I believe that they're really trying hard to get their communication through, but not all of them can achieve that, even if they want to. So you put that all together, and it just makes it makes it really challenging to understand what's going on.
Well, it's the challenge that keeps us motivated to keep going, so I'm going to get Josh. We'd like to get your thoughts on that. I'll be back in a little while. I'll leave you with George, and we'll catch you in a few.
Sure. Yeah, I actually, definitely have something to add to that. So it's interesting. So, there is no shortage of mediums out there that are doing intuitive work, that are doing mediumship readings, and they're, like Debra was saying, kind of getting that information through their filter. Some mediums don't believe that you can contact someone right away after death. Some think that they immediately go into the light, and that there are no stuck spirits. There's a lot of misconceptions, and people are taught a lot of different things through movies, through religion, through all kinds of stuff. So it really is. That's why, even though I've done, like I said, over 3,000 mediumship readings with no equipment, I like my equipment. I like the equipment because it gives the spirit, the soul, the opportunity to say what they want through no filter. It's not coming through my filter. They are able to say what they want to say within reason, and it's a very advanced way of doing it. And so, on my channel, I have two channels. I have Hope Paranormal, which, has a good following. And then I started a new channel about a year ago called Joshua Lewis Medium. And those are just sessions I do with clients. And that is a really good channel to check out, because you're going to hear a lot of these loved ones coming back and saying things that you just would not think that a soul on the other side would say. And I'll give you a couple examples. I had one woman asking her husband, she said she kept getting a feeling that her husband was building a house for them on the other side. And she asked the question, I feel like you're building me a house, or building us a house. And I asked him, and through the box, he says, yes, a big, lovely house. And then I did a spirit photography session. And a lot of times in the spirit photography sessions, kind of like what Sonia Rinaldi does, I don't know if you ever heard of her, they normally show their faces, which is really a lot of documented faces have come through. But this man showed a house. He showed an actual house. And I know that sounds crazy, but he showed an actual picture of a house that I have that is just one of the most remarkable photos I've ever captured. And so not only did he, say it, through sound, that he was building a big, lovely house, he showed us this house. It's a 2-story with a wraparound porch. And I mean, you can see the roof. I mean, it's just, it's remarkable. I had one woman that asked for her mother, and the mother and the daughter said, Mom, is our stepdad, or is my stepdad there with you? And she said, yes. And she said, I just got done cooking pollo. And she was Spanish. And she said, I just got done cooking chicken, pollo. And she said, he's doing the dishes right now. Now, again, I don't understand that. But at the same time, if they want to have some kind of domesticated experience on the other side that they still want to have and live together, and that they're cooking chicken and he still has to do the dishes, that's just remarkable. I mean, I've had spirits saying that they live, like I said, living in houses. A lot of them have said that they're working at jobs. I don't know what kind of, if they're getting paid like heavenly dollars or what the case is, but they're getting, they're working. There's a physicality to the other side that they talk about. I saw one little boy, he was 10 years old, and he was doing very well. He kept coming through for his mother, but he was eating a Nutella sandwich. And I said, I see you now intuitively. I said, I see you eating a sandwich. It doesn't look very nutritious, though. And he goes, yes. And through the box, he says, yes. He goes, my grandmother made it for me. So it's amazing that I'm picking up something intuitively. I'm calling it out. And then through the box, they're validating what I'm getting on an intuitive level. And now, what Debra said also is that, you can go to the other side and you could still be who you were in this last life. You could still live and you could still grow in some sense. You could still kind of have those experiences. They're with family. A lot of them say, I met up with the family. I'm with family. And they're living their lives still on some level on the other side. But then there is this almost like, and I've heard a couple of accounts now of a death on the other side. And my guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, who of course is no longer with us, but he still, of course, works with his students from the other side. And he wrote an amazing book that I always recommend anyone to read, The Autobiography of a Yogi. And Paramahansa talks about 3 bodies. There's the physical body. There's the astral body within us that is made of gossamer light that looks like our physical body. It has legs and arms, and it looks like a body. And then there's something called the causal body. And that is the spark of the divine, a ball of light that is the actual soul. It's almost like, the Holy Trinity in with Catholicism. But you've got the physical body, you've got the spirit, which is kind of, like I said, the astral body, and then you've got the soul, which is this ball of light that comes, I believe, from the source. And that would go in any body that we would live as far as reincarnation goes. But reincarnation is not something that happens right away. I believe it happens over many, many years on the other side. And that there's this death of the astral body on the other side, where then there's a higher level to go to, that the soul will then kind of go to. And that's where I believe the soul becomes more a part of everything, kind of like what Debra was saying, that they come through very clear with more of how they were when they were alive. But then sometimes she'll connect with someone that is more like kind of spread out and kind of they're all around. And I believe that they've had a higher evolution of a spiritual, like, evolvement, I should say. And but when you hear these box sessions that I'm doing, and they come through and they joke, they know about specific memories. If a lot of times these people will ask for, hey, what's the code word? What did you call me? What was my nickname? Or what does this word mean, or whatever? They will give that specific point of validation. They will come through with that. So there's still the memory. There's a lot of sense of humor. So there's more to it, and we are understanding more of it, but a lot of misconceptions I find.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that tends to happen once we pass with adapting, and it's a little bit hard to let go of something that we were used to for, in some cases, decades. In other cases, not necessarily the situation where, an infant passes, a young child passes, where they just become this free spirit, move on. But for those who've been on this earth and they've had this routine, this habit, or they've grown so attached to loved ones or their job or being domestic and doing the dishes, but it's a creature comfort that it's hard for them to let go, and becomes repetitive, even in the next life. And that's maybe where it can be confusing between what is a residual haunt and an intelligent haunt, if it's something that somebody loves doing over and over. Let's get to the reason why we invited you guys on tonight, and that is this upcoming event in St. Augustine. And Theon, you and I had a Zoom meeting. First time I ever did Zoom, and obviously you could tell because I didn't even know my camera wasn't on for the first 10 minutes. But I will start with you and kind of give a layout of what is planned for this event starting on the 26th. What's going to be happening?
Wonderful. So a great deal of things. We are going to be doing, like as we were talking about, Josh will be doing, which is one of my favorite ones, and I have taken Josh's course before, Water ITC. We're going to talk about how to utilize the equipment, also intuitive development, how to tune in to the energy around you, spirits and things like that, all sort of in preparation of connecting with the energy. And as you know, George, the energy in St. Augustine, I mean, even my very, I would say, skeptical husband could feel the energy there. And, just because of the history and everything. So this is a great opportunity for people that are beginning intuitive development, beginning paranormal investigations, that are curious, but also those who are diehards like Debra, Josh, and I, where, there's a little bit for everyone. So, one great thing about, I've been to events with Debra and Josh, and they never disappoint. It's always exciting. It's always, constantly going. Everything is made into an intuitive development practice, whether we know it or not. And that's going to be definitely apparent here too. Yeah. So, yes. And then we're going to be doing a walking ghost tour, where we're going to walk around the city, but we're going to also utilize our intuitive ability. One of my favorite, and haven't done it yet and very excited about, Debra suggested, was remote viewing, scavenger hunting, which I'm so excited. I like all of that.
Nice.
And yeah. And yeah, it's going to be a lot, a lot of fun.
Okay, Debra, I gotta put you in this position and ask this now. And again, I can attest to what Josh was saying, but when you do this field in time, your sixth sense does get honed over time, even without any type of tutelage. If nobody's coming and giving you guidance, you pick up on it. You know, when you go to locations, when you have the background, the experience, the education, and the skill, and then you go to St. Augustine, and it's just a barrage constantly hitting you, and you want to work with a whole bunch of people. You want to go on a tour through St. Augustine and test these skills. You've got the spirits that are there, the energy of the ground itself, and each individual that is there also. Talk about the capabilities or what is necessary to divide all that, to be able to still stay focused and not feel like you're overwhelmed as your guide during one of these sessions.
Yes, well, that's such a great question, because even for anyone going to St. Augustine and spending a night in a hotel anywhere there, it's very likely that in itself could be overwhelming with just so much energy all over. It would be interesting to poll people, to see how good of a night's sleep they got, or were they having dreams, or just, nonstop barrage of impressions. So even with that alone, but when you put everything on top of it, you add the people at the workshop, and you add the and then tuning into the spirits, and then you're also at the same time opening yourself up. So that's why we're going to start with techniques that really will help to sort some of that out. It's kind of it's like the techniques will help create boundaries and help create centeredness, and help how to, if it does get overwhelming, to turn it down, while also people are learning to open up and be more and more sensitive. So it's kind of like, I look at it like, two steps forward, then a step back. The 2 steps forward is learning how to get control over all this, and then the 1 step back is now you're even more psychic and you have more to deal with. But so we're going to be starting off, before we go out to any of these sites, doing exercises so that people aren't just going to get swept away in all of this. And just like you can turn up your intuitive abilities at any given time, you can turn them down as well. Like when you do want to go to sleep, or, if you are receiving communications and you don't like the kind of communications you're receiving, or you're just too tired or too busy to get those communications, I like to equate it to everyday life. We have our friends in our lives who we love, but do we want to talk to them every single minute of every single day? No, we wouldn't get anything done. And it's the same thing with spirits. So we've got to know how to hang up the phone, close the door, say, enough now, I just need time to myself. And so we'll be covering that in the workshop for sure at the very start. And then we'll be continuing to address that as we go along.
All right. And Joshua, with a couple of minutes we have left here, your role for this event weekend, that's the 26th to the 28th.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, I know that I'm the paranormal guy, I guess, but, it's kind of, because of what Debra has taught me, what I've been able to do, that I will have some input on the intuitive stuff that I'm doing, and the exercises, but really, sharing about my app, how to use my app. It's a free app, the Hope Spirit Box app on iOS and Android. Showing them about ITC. I'll be giving a talk about some of the stuff that I've been doing over the last 10 years and educating on that. Of course, taking people through the investigation. Really, it's kind of an investigation session, really, that we're doing at the lighthouse, and how to review the evidence afterwards and kind of do that. And then at the last day, we're going to be doing a seance, but really a gallery, also a gallery group session. I'll be bringing my equipment, my box that's behind me over here, and reaching out to attendees' loved ones. So not just the spirits in the lighthouse, but we're going to actually ask for people's loved ones that they want to connect with as well when we're there. So it's a really like a full-on, well-rounded weekend. It's not just a paranormal hunt or an intuitive development. It's like you're going to get a lot of things, a lot of tools. I mean, you're going to have a big toolbox to take home with you as far as how to do this kind of stuff.
Time to gear up, everybody. Let me get right back to it with Theon, and anybody who they got about a month right now to make that booking if they want to come to this event. How do they do it? And what is the website, please?
Well, we have a couple different landing pages, but you can always go to evolveme.com and just click on the event itself, and it'll take you right to the details page as well as the booking. So yeah, evolve without the E, me.com.
You find yourself at this point in time looking forward to expanding the minds of the people that are going to be going there. And getting the opportunity to show people better, especially Debra too, and Josh, as he's one of her students, how to better control those circumstances, particularly in a place as haunted as St. Augustine. So I'm looking forward to getting a chance. Hopefully we can get up there. Erin Bush, who we've been speaking to, she's in the queue right now for the next hour. She's been listening in. I know that she's right there. That's her back door. So she's going to be looking forward to doing that also. Ken, if you want to come back on, but we are so grateful for you guys giving a chance to pitch this incredible event. It's rare because, like I said, everything's always up in the New England area. Everything is always up north. It's nice when we have something down here. And for our listening audience, because we have so many of them that are regular listeners and part of our Patreon family also, Theon, before we came on to the show, very, very quickly, name the place that you're going to be looking towards visiting here in Florida.
Oh, yes. Actually, Debra and I are going to check out Kerr City in Ocala. So, and on George's recommendation, which I'm really excited, and hopefully you're going to come join us, George.
Dun, dun, dun. We need that song, Ken. We got to put that in there. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We are so thrilled to have the opportunity to talk to you about that. And maybe we can go back afterwards for evidence and see what was occurring, your experiences in St. Augustine during that time. We'll talk about that another time. Thank you guys again so much. Glenda Dawson on the other side of the break, guys. Thank you for watching Dead Air Live on the Dead Air Full Spectrum channel. We'll be back in 3 minutes.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
As UFO reports come in from around the world, the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, is there. We continue to explore new cases and build our massive database. We share our information with the world in a number of ways. If you would like to be part of our investigative team, you are always welcome. What could be more exciting than exploring the UFO question firsthand? Join MUFON, find your friends.
Did you know 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated? If you struggle with focus, run low on energy, or when it's time to finally sleep, you simply can't, this can all be linked to dehydration, and Fuel Up has the answer. Our proprietary formula contains the finest cellular hydration with the strongest immune-enhancing natural ingredients. The Fuel Up system is made up of 3 different incredibly tasting varieties. Wake kickstarts your day with a jolt of caffeine. Play boosts focus while hydrating your cells. Rest not only helps you relax, but also rejuvenates your cells while you sleep. Here's what our clients have to say.
I really don't miss my coffee, and you can tell the difference.
So I'm going to take it for the energy. I'm going to take it for the play. I'm going to take it, all day.
And it works. That's the thing. It works. We love it.
Take the Fuel Up Challenge now, where we offer a Feel the Difference money-back guarantee. Fuel Up for life.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
Hey guys, welcome back to the second hour of our show, and thank you again for your patronage. If you heard Theon Filippelli talking about going to Curse City and you kind of scratch your head, if you happen to join us on Patreon, there's a couple of incredible excerpts, videos from our trips to Curse City, as well as a plethora of other wonderful directions that you could go with it. Ken, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Again, we are going to do this every week, and because we believe in it, and people who are subscribers are just having an absolute blast. We're having great conversations with them. Tomorrow night, we'll have another paranormal town hall for our patrons. And when we created this, we wanted to make it affordable. We wanted to make it accessible. And we wanted to put a lot of things in there that we thought are exclusive content that you're not going to get on the show. And so, again, if you're so inclined, join Dead Air on Patreon. It's a $3 a month membership. Go to patreon.com, Dead Air Paranormal, and you'll see what we're talking about. We're having so much fun putting content on there and getting the feedback from all our membership, and we're having a great time.
$3 a month membership, and right now I think we're putting out more consistent content than Netflix.
So we've been told, and that's the truth. We've had people who are members or have seen other Patreons, and it's like in the first week, people were saying, "You guys already have more content on there." And it's good stuff too. It's stuff that make you go, stuff that make you think, stuff that make you laugh. So we encourage you to do it because it certainly helps us keep Dead Air alive and keeps the channel going. So please, just give it a shot, see what you like. I know you'll have a good time. The other thing I wanted to do real quick at the top here is put this up. This is a promo. Thank you, Liz. Liz is one of our regulars, and so is Jeff. Contact in the Desert, ladies and gentlemen. An Easter sale, and this is going to be held May 30th to June 3rd, Coachella Valley, California. Contact in the Desert. and 10% off all passes with the code Easter10. It ends midnight Easter night. So you got 1 day and 5 day passes, 10% off. Use the code Easter10 until midnight. So this is an amazing event with some of the biggest names in ufology, exchanging ideas. And if you're going to attend something like this, now's the time to do it. With everything that's going on, I'm sure you're going to hear a lot of different viewpoints and analysis and probably some revelations as well.
Yeah. And it's always a good time to travel in the springtime. So incredible event going on. Mr. DaCosta, time to bring our second hour guest onto the show. Actually, our second hour guests onto the show, correct?
Absolutely. And we thank you for her patience while we got that out of the way. Glenda Dawson, for the first time, is joining Dead Air. She is a non-denominational ordained minister, a published author, renowned published psychic medium, conscious, angelic, and galactic channeler, and is the current matriarch of many generations of gifted women, some of whom I know. Glenda is an internationally well-known psychic medium and channeler whose diverse empathic abilities overlap several different classifications. We hope we can cover some of them tonight. She's done many private and public galleries as well as seances. She's also highly skilled and certified as a card reader, teacher, and practice in many diverse decks and spreads, something I want to ask her about, and is the owner and founder of the Spiritual Center. So there's a lot to get into. We are so very pleased to welcome her to the show tonight. Please, Glenda Dawson joins us. Hi, Glenda.
Hi, Ken. Thank you. Hi, George. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you for joining us tonight. And I hope things are well for you.
Yes, they are. Thank you. Hopefully the same for you guys. And by the way, I have been to St. Augustine.
Yeah.
All right.
Beautiful.
Wait, we can travel, Glenda. We can leave state. We can cross state lines.
Yes, yes. Every once in a while.
Yeah. The only problem with Ken going there is that was the only week that we had Sasquatch sighting claims going on because of Ken's night.
Oh, okay.
What does that even mean?
You're enormous, Ken. You're enormous. It's like 7 foot tall, for crying out loud.
Well, I can't help that. It's what I gave. We have a little bit something special for you tonight, Glenda. We are going to bring the third head of this three-headed monster we call Dead Air, and we love to have her on from time to time, and she's getting more popular than us, which is really starting to get under our skin. But we love her to death. Erin Bush is coming in to
again.
Hi. I know. Can you believe it? Can you believe it?
Hi,
Erin. Hi, Glenda.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Always beautiful.
Always beautiful. I'm so excited about this.
The energy is already. The energy is already kicking it. I love it already.
Yeah. Hey, Ron.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot. Oh my God, there's so much to get into tonight. Now, I'm going to speak for myself here that I'm certainly well aware, after years of spending in this field, I'm well aware of energy channeling here. There's no terminology there that I personally am not aware of. But what I really wanted to do is, Glenda, tonight, if you can break some of this down for people who hear about things like Reiki and tarot reading and card reading and channeling and all the rest of it. So we get under the hood here a little bit.
Okay.
From the basics, how does all this work? And I think you're the person to talk to. I really do. Well, you're a teacher, you're a mentor, so this class is now in session.
If you could do this in one sentence or less, go ahead.
Right. You saw her bio of all her accomplishments.
Well, I guess my first question, elementary question. I'm 7 years old and I want to know about Reiki. So apparently this is energy gathered and energy put forth. And there's varying levels. It's done with the hands, but not necessarily with the hands. So I am going to just push away from the table and let you explain.
Well, to my 7-year-old students, which I do teach, by the way, children, I tell them that it's energy that is all around them. They were born with this inner energy, which is called, we call it Reiki, because it was reintroduced to humanity by a Dr. Usui, who was a monk who went out for 21 days and he basically starved himself and went on meditation. And then on the 21st day, he received a light right into his third eye. You know, that sounds so familiar, doesn't it? When Jesus got baptized by John the Baptist, the light came into him, which was the Holy Spirit. We all have that energy. We all have that ability. The only difference is from someone who does Reiki, for myself, is I have been attuned to that different types of frequencies. You know, the old radios where you had to use the little knob, or the old TVs, and you had to keep tuning it until you finally got the channel. Well, that's what attunement means. So you get a master or a grandmaster. For myself, I'm a grandmaster now. But when I started, they used to come from Japan and teach in New York City. And we would get our classes, our attunements, then we would get sent home. Now, there was no such thing as books as they are now. So everything was, you better learn it. You couldn't even write it. All the symbols and everything was secret and sacred. And so we were behind the eight ball. Let's just say that, for a long time. And then as time went by and it started becoming bigger and bigger, the hospitals started using it as extra care.
Alternative, yeah.
Right. They went into the people who had surgeries, who had accidents, and they were able to provide Reiki to them. Reiki is just basically energy. Everything in this around you has energy. Everything at some point started out from the earth, and the earth, it by itself has energy. So say, for example, this crystal has energy. I hold it and I feel the energy coming into my body, and then I send it out. Now, what I do is, at this point, I gather the energy that's around me, and I could just send it automatically. I don't even have to be there. I don't have to see the person. The person doesn't have to see me. Although people have seen me because I astral project to over there, so they can feel more comfortable.
Hang on, Glenda, let me interrupt for a second, because again, the field is constantly evolving. We are constantly looking at the what ifs, because one of the three words, or the three words that we love, Ken and I love in the field, is I don't know. We're still discovering.
Right.
When you're not there and you're able to transfer this energy in your mind, or if you could describe it otherwise, how is it going from A to B?
How did Tesla describe it?
Conduit, just
there you
a
go.
current, electrical current. So, but is it traveling through the air like airwaves?
Exactly the same way.
Exactly
through dimensions, through different planets, different time zones, different time periods.
Dimensions would be instantaneous. Airwaves, would it not be
It's
longer?
all
or
happening
the
at the
speed?
same time. No, it's same speed.
Incredible. Okay. All right. Please continue.
Sure. For example, I could send energy, healing energy, to your 5-year-old self. Something happened when you're 5 years old that is still bothering you today. So if I send healing energy to that 5-year-old, it will continue healing you to this point. And you might, as I call it, release. You might start crying. You may go, wow, okay, I feel the release of that heaviness. And that, is one of the things that can be done. You could do it forward. You could do it to a job opportunity. You could do it to an event that you're going to. You could do it to a surgery that's coming up, or a doctor's appointment. And it doesn't stop there. See, humans restrict themselves. And with Reiki, it liberates you because it allows you to send healing energy, no matter how that healing needs to be there. So, for example, somebody just asked for the knee. Okay, Albert, I will send you Reiki for your knee. He will start maybe feeling vibrations. Maybe he'll feel warmth. Maybe he'll feel something like he will start just feeling a rush of warmth, vibrations. He'll just feel cool also. It depends on what he needs. And it could be that his knee is hurting, but it could be due to the hip that's off alignment. So he's overcompensating with the knee. So whatever he needs, it will be there. I directed it to him, but
can there be a misinterpretation of this energy? And I'm going to go down a very dangerous rabbit hole right now.
okay, might as well get that rabbit hole out of the way.
Let's get it out of the way.
Okay.
Religion. The aspect of religion, the power of prayer, we talk about time and again. If somebody has untapped gifts or unrealized gifts,
Right.
Whether they are praying for themselves or they're praying for others, and it is creating this energy connection, can it be misconstrued? Not that it matters. Apparently, neither of those is going to affect the result. But is there one or the other by a major focus could increase that effect in the long run? In other words, I have the ability, but I'm praying and it's creating an effect. I have the ability and I know it's an ability and I can harness or focus that effect. Is that even a possibility or they're interchangeable?
Okay. If you're talking about Reiki and you've been attuned, it's interchangeable. If you're talking about prayer, it still works. It's just a different wavelength. It's still energy.
It's
It
still
is
an
still
output.
good energy. It's still an outpour. It's still something that you intend for the other person to have in a good way. So it's a positive intention.
Okay.
And you know, for example, somebody asked for prayers, they've given you permission already. Somebody asked me for Reiki, they've given me permission already because I would never do it without permission.
Gotcha.
That to me is taking away free will. And
I feel the same way, Glenda. I'm the same way.
Who am I to do it?
Yeah.
You know, and Aaron knows.
Yeah.
I asked, did you get permission?
Yep.
Quick question for you, Glenda. On 2 occasions, I've had Reiki performed on me. One, the first time ever was from somebody who was a new practitioner. So with varying degrees of success, but the last time a very dear friend of mine offered to help me. I was having some real problems with my neck. And the first thing, you know, I laid on the table, face down, face up. And she was striking bowls, some type of sound therapy. And then after a bit of time after that, the Reiki session began. So I didn't ask questions about it. I just figured, okay, this is part of the deal. I didn't want to feel embarrassed because what are you doing, you know? Because she is a dear friend and she's a wonderful woman. What exactly was I going through with the sound and then leading into the treatment?
Well, the sound shakes your energy. So if you have any blockages, she starts shaking those blockages so they're removed easier with Reiki.
Okay.
It's you know, a lot of people talk about toolbox. When you go to investigation, when you go here, when you go there, I literally tell all my students, every single thing that you learn can be used interchangeably and together. It doesn't have to be one or the other. I use crystals. I use crystal balls. I use for sound therapy. I use candles. I use tuning forks. It doesn't have to be either or. It could all go together very well. And sometimes the fact that she did that could just keep the focus from what she's doing energetically to you having the focus on the sounds. So it gets your monkey mind busy, as I call it. So then your spiritual side can allow that to fully come in.
What is my or any subject responsibility when this is being performed on you? Does there have to be a focus, a concentration, an intent on my part to receive as well? Or I have to be open?
All you have to do is just be open. And, you know, you had already said, yes, I would accept your Reiki treatment. So you already gave consent. That is why, you know, sometimes the person who's doing the session use other stuff. I use meditative music all the time. It just keeps that monkey mind busy. So then your higher self is willing to talk to my higher self, and they could discuss exactly what you need.
When you say monkey mind, I'm assuming or interpreting it like the conscious mind, as opposed to the subconscious mind. Am I in the
No, monkey mind is more like the one that is always thinking, what if this is wrong? Is this right? All of the
that's my conscious mind, because I can never shut my brain off. So we're right there.
I was a paralegal, so I had to, on purpose, consciously set that side off, because I look at something and I could turn it around and give you all scenarios of what's happening, what's not going to happen. And if somebody takes 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, all the different avenues and everything. So I to come from a paralegal point of view to a spiritual point of view was a big shift. Because I literally had to learn how to close that monkey mind. It's usually the left-hand side, by the way.
Okay. I mean, that breaks it down. That breaks it down. Okay. Real quick before we get to Erin, because I know that she's going to jump in here. There was a gentleman in chat, Albert Draper, and you know, he was asking a little bit about this. And where is can you send healing energy to my knee, please? I'm not sure if that's a direct request, but
I did already.
Serious strain, and I think we kind of covered that those kind of things can be done.
Right.
Yeah, while you were typing, she addressed that already, Ken, the same time she read it in the chat.
Okay.
And it's that fast too. I think that's a common misconception that, you know, it has to be this long, drawn out, hour-long thing. I mean, it's as quick as it needs to be. And
and like I do the every Monday night, I run a complimentary Reiki clinic. I stream it all over the place. Whoever catches it can receive treatment. And, you know, I have gotten a lot of feedback from people who are saying, wow, I didn't expect to really feel it. I'm like, okay, why would I do it then? Like, I want you to heal.
You're right. Well, I have a question too. I mean, I know for me, it's like, I sort of always call myself a copper like a copper tube, right? Like, because again, it's not my own energy that I'm channeling out, right? So I always kind of, with my clients, try to explain to them, it's not me. Like, I take no credit for what I'm bringing in and pushing out. You know, they get all the credit. And then I think the client gets credit because, one, they're open to receive.
Correct.
And two, it's really our job to kind of kickstart people's bodies to remember that the body knows how to heal itself, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm, like I said, I'm just a conduit to the divine energy. I am here. I am willing to accept it. And that is one of the reasons I decided to continue going up and up, higher and higher, because the higher you go, the frequency comes closer to the divine. Now, you could call that God, you could call that goddess, you could call that creator, you could call higher self, whatever it is that you want to call it. But I call it divine. And that divine energy comes through me and I send it out. And, you know, a lot of people say, oh, do you need to go like this? In the beginning, it's good to do that because it also keeps your monkey mind busy.
Yes.
Because the more natural you are and the less you're focusing on what you're doing, the more of a flow it goes through, and it doesn't stop anywhere. It doesn't, there is no blockages that you're putting on. So.
Right. Because you have to, I mean, I don't know. How do you feel about, like, I know for me, I agree with you. If I don't have permission, I don't send it.
No,
I know there is an exception under the law of grace, which I've only used like twice. That's the only exception. And I never use it unless it's absolutely necessary.
Well, I do hospice, so I use it a lot.
Okay.
You know, in hospice
exactly. And you would have to.
Right. You want them to be calm, to move on, to
100% agree.
World. Right.
So my question for you is, I know, like, for me, when I see energy, people look like if somebody's really anxious or frenetic, it's like TV static, or there's depression, or like there's just it looks like tar. Do you see energy in certain ways in people in your like, I know you see it all the time anyway, but like when you're working with someone, and I find this fascinating because we all get our information so differently. And I think it's because we get trained in traditional Reiki as a base, and then it just morphs everywhere, right? Like you're working with the Galactics, I do the same. Like, how does the energy
working
look
with dragons
to you? Exactly.
Right.
So when you're looking at someone's system or body, whatever that looks like, how does energy appear to you? I'm always fascinated by that.
Okay. Well, to me, it depends on what Reiki their higher self tells me that they need. So, for example, if they need Karuna Ki because they have an addiction, okay, and Karuna Ki is a heart-based Reiki modality that sends love for any type of person that really has addictions or traumas that they haven't been able to resolve. So I see it as, for example, if it's a heart trauma, a little heart. If it's gambling, you know, they go to the casino all the time. I see slot machines, you know, that kind of thing. If they need the type of comforting, like a dragon can bring, protective comforting, then I see their dragon. And I'm like, oh, you need that kind of, okay. And I have no interest in really knowing what they need because I don't need to. But it is nice when you find out and they tell you, only for your own sake. Because then I say, oh, okay, I'm glad I took that. I'm glad I went there because this is something that now is being used on that person that I wouldn't have known that they needed it. And, you know, even with Galactics, I actually have in the middle of the night traveled with the patient to the ship, and I have helped them there and then come. And so it's, you know, whole different other ballgame.
It's such a fascinating thing. Oops, sorry, go ahead, Ken.
No, that's okay. I wanted you guys to finish this before I moved on to something
else.
You know? We oftentimes, one of the contributors to this channel is a lovely woman from Los Angeles named Melissa St. Hilaire, who titles herself the American Witch. She did a great show for us, sort of a travelogue around Los Angeles, going into different emporiums. And one of the things that she's done in bringing these people on the show, we were able to dispel some myths about witchcraft and people who identify as witches. As a channeler, I'm going to give you the same opportunity. And if you do any of this, I apologize in advance. But the preconceived idea as a channeler, goes through all these gyrations and starts spasming and speaking in, so I wanted to also, because when I saw your resume here, I'm just, why don't we bring this up and maybe dispel another myth about channeling, because we've seen the dramatics and everything like that. So talk a little bit about that.
All right. Well, I don't know.
As I say, if you do that, I apologize in advance.
No, I'm not possessed. I'm sorry. A lot of people look like they're possessed when they do that. It's like, what are you doing? No. When I channel, it's very natural. It's like having a conversation with somebody. And if you go to my YouTube channel and on Facebook and all that, Conscious Awakening and all that, you can see where I weekly do channeling sessions with the Council of Nine. Now, the Council of Nine is 9 entities. They're not the same. They're not even 9. There's just 9 that appear at any given moment. They could be galactics, they could be angelics, they could be Sasquatch, for all we know. They could be people, spirits that have moved on, that are dead, loved ones. We don't control because they're here to help us. So every single week, we have a chat with them, or I'm the one who starts it, but we have a chat with them. And they bring us to places so we can try to learn and awaken our memory of how gifted we are, how connected we are to all of our lives, to all of our beings, to all of our soul segments. Because when a soul comes down to incarnate, they come down as a piece of the oversoul. So you have your main pocket of information up there, your oversoul, your big body, and then pieces come down. And I could have 20 lifetimes happening at the same time in different dimensions in different places. And each piece of my soul is learning a different lesson and evolving differently. So then we go and get together and we compare notes, basically. Oh, okay, you learned that. Okay, let's store that. And that is how the whole soul, because that's what goes back. The complete soul is what goes eventually back to love, back to the home, back to source, back to the divine, God, goddess, whatever you want to call it. So that's my belief. I should say that before I continue, because I'm going to be getting those emails.
Send your emails to Glenda, ladies and gentlemen.
No, can't block them.
The views expressed are not those of Dead Air or its sponsors, whoever they are.
But Glenda and I are both paralegals, so you may not want to send those to us.
I'm already at a disadvantage.
But,
the other
and by the way, for the record, I was a paralegal for 37 years.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so
the other thing I may or may not get in trouble with, that you may laugh at, is that I assume with conferences and things you may attend, that paranormal investigation is somewhere on your radar. And again, it's like, oh, bless your heart, honey. I've been doing this. We're just meeting for the first time. We're getting we're getting to know each other.
It's okay, Ken.
Tell me a little bit how all of this plays into a location that you may go through. Being an empath and feeling these emotions, and having someone try to, like, maybe a walk-in to try to come through you, or so I talked to Erin about this a lot in terms of putting up the blinders, putting up your guardrails, establishing boundaries. So when you go into these and maybe join in a little bit, what's the process?
All right. For me, before I even get out of my car, I say, okay, guys, I'm going in. It's your turn to protect me. It could be angelics, it could be galactic, it could be God or divine, it could be whoever they want to be. It could be my ancestors. I don't care. Just protect me. Make sure that I walk in there and I don't walk home with anybody or anything. And then I step right in the front step, and before I go through that door, I say, may I come in? And I am not here to harm you. I am here to learn about you, to get your story, to find out what you're about. Because I do a lot of remediation. Remediation is, and a lot of private stuff. Remediation is when a home has a very angry spirit or spirits. It could be because a lot of paranormal teams have walked by, they were a little disrespectful, they get a little angry, whatever the case may be. I go in, and then I kind of have to go in saying, I'm not here to harm you. I'm here to hear you. We want to try to negotiate so everybody could get along and nobody has to leave this place. I've had native guardians telling me that, 10 generations back, her great-great-great-great-grandfather killed all the white women and all this other stuff. And I'm like, but she had nothing to do with this. So what can she make amends so it doesn't continue? And I remember this one particular case. The guardian said, I want fruit trees planted. And they're going to have dinner every Sunday night, family dinner, every Sunday night with no electronics. They started doing that. The house never a peep. Everything was peaceful. They were almost to the point of divorce, actually. They saved their marriage, and now, they're still together. Their kids now have grown. They're out to college. And so it makes a big difference in how you walk in. And even when I went to the Conjuring house, I did the exact same thing. I walked in. I'm like, can I come in? I'm just here to hear you. I am just here to listen, to see what you got. I love to research. So a lot of the times I go to buildings that people don't go, because then I go in there, I get their story, and then I go to the historical societies, the cemeteries, or someone from the place that has called me in does that, and they research and they find that everything I get to the T. They get actual evidence. So that to me is worth more than going in there and telling them to knock on the door or on the wall because they're there. I know they're there. Otherwise, everywhere we go, there's something. Come on. We can't. This earth has been around for a long time.
So far, I've done pretty well in those questions, so I'm going to go to door number 3 now.
Okay.
I'm going to go to door number 3. I want to ask you both how you feel about something, because this is a thing in the paranormal community. Crossing spirits over / banishing them / asking them or telling them they have to move on, and ridding the location of the spirits and whatever means. Like I'm going to throw some sage around. Well, that's not what sage is. We know, But how do you feel about, all right, cut to the chase. My opinion is, who the hell are we? Right? Now, right? So that's my door number 3. How you both feel about these people who come in. Some are religious, some are supposed, mediums or whatever their thing at. That's their specialty, is crossing spirits over. So go.
Okay. Can I go, Erin?
Of course.
All right. First of all, I do cross spirits, but I asked them for their permission.
By the way, you can cuss on this show too.
I know, but I just I'm trying to keep it nice today. Anyway,
don't you fucking dare curse.
I won't. I'm a Jersey girl. My cursing comes in a different way. It's like
Yeah.
What exit?
153. I'm from Wayne. Newark. I grew up in Newark and then moved to Wayne.
Perth Amboy and then Sayreville.
Oh, there you go.
All right.
Nice.
Carry on.
All right. So, everybody has a right to not be pushed around, and they still have free will. I don't care in what dimension, in what state you're in what time warp you're in, whatever. Everybody has that right. I don't even care if it's galactic or demonic. But you know, there's a lot of people say everything is demonic, not everything is
I have
demonic.
never had the pleasure in 50 years. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. I don't.
No, it could just be an angry spirit.
Yeah.
You know, you go in there. People like to go into places and stir up the pot and forget that the owners with their kids have to stay there. And it's okay if that house is only for that, not to live there on a regular basis, but you don't want your kids subjected to a whole bunch of stuff. So I always ask them, and even when I'm doing the mediumship development classes, which by the way is complimentary on Zoom and in person every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, we ask if somebody comes that doesn't belong to anybody, you know, that isn't any one of the sitters, we ask them if they need to cross. And if that's the reason they came here for that, because a lot of the times we shine bright our light, and they know that they could come and they could talk to us, and they, you know, they could find help if they need healing, because just because you're on the other side doesn't mean you don't need healing. You know,
right? Yeah.
Energy healing goes everywhere. And sometimes they feel so guilty over something that they told them that they're going to go to hell for. You know, especially a lot of the times I have met up with kids that were actually killed by their father, beating them, you know, in the late 1800s or early 1900s and all that other stuff, because they were, you know, they were going to hell for doing whatever they did wrong. So they're stuck here. They don't want to cross to heaven because they think that they can't go heaven. They can't go. And they don't want to really cross the other way because they figured that they're going to meet up with the guy who just killed them. Why do they want to go there? So I say, first of all, back home is not hell. I am one of those very few people, and I know I'm going to get flack for this. Hell is right now, right here.
Yes.
When we pass on, when we die from this permanent life or this life right now, we go back to home. We go back to heaven or whatever people want to call it. It is very calm. I have had 7 near-death experiences. I feel like a cat, I swear to God. And yes, they had to bring me back with paddles and all that. So I was declared dead. Drowning, medication, allergy, you name it. It was terrible. But over there is very calm. And I don't suggest anybody take their life to do that, to go there. You go there and it's calm when it's your time. Because otherwise you got to come back and redo your lessons.
Do it all over again.
It's very messy. Yes, very messy. So, but I believe that everybody has a right to say yes or no. There's no free will. And there's no reason to go into a place. That's what remediation is about, to try to come to a resolution so everybody can stay in the place without trouble. Everybody can come to some agreement. Everybody can live peacefully. I have ghosts in my house, 1900 house. And I told them they could stay, but they got to go into the attic. The second they come down those attic stairs, because it's a full walk-in attic, second they come down those stairs, they got to go. It's a lease. You're here until you start causing trouble. Unless they did come a couple of times, because one of those times was when I had an allergy to medication and I passed out. they actually made my phone call, my cell phone call my son, my youngest son. And he knew something was wrong because I didn't answer the phone. He was saying hello, hello, and I wasn't answering. So he drove home and found me. He called the cops, and that's how they found me. So it's all how you treat them. It's all how you treat everybody. You know, you don't want to be treated bad. So,
all right. Well, I got away unscathed there, George. So let's do
Well,
I'll be back in a little bit to say goodnight.
Well, my job's easy too, because I'm just going to read the questions now that came up in chat, so they can't blame me. But Jeff Hilton, one of our Patreon members, actually all the questions come from our Patreon members tonight, and he's on a roll. So we're going to hit these one after another with we're got about 8 minutes remaining for tonight. If a friend or loved one is intuitive, how would you guide them into exploring? Are there any restrictions?
well, first of all, I would have them find someone who is knowledgeable. That you should not try to do this by yourself, because when you're intuitive and you decide to do mediumship or anything like that, you are actually opening what I call portals, because you're opening the door to both dimensions. And it may, unless you know how to protect yourself, you may not know what comes through there. And always start with prayer that works for you, that resonates with you. Whether that's calling Buddha, calling God, calling your angels, calling the goddess, whatever works for you, whatever resonates with you that you believe in, that to come and protect you, because you want to make sure you're safe. That's the first thing I always tell people. And I'm not saying come to me. If you want to come to me, good, but I'm not saying come to me. Just go to someone who is knowledgeable and really sounds like they know what they're talking about. Not somebody who just all of a sudden pops up and they're a medium. I've been doing this. I've been talking to spirits and archangels and all that since before the age of 2. So
lifelong.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah. This lifetime.
This life.
And probably last before this one. Yeah.
Probably. Who knows?
All right, we continue. Another one from Mr. Hilton. Do you believe that the people who live with a higher energy are the ones that move on easier and harder to reach after they pass?
Okay. Well, yes and no. They do move on easier because they're already higher and they don't have as much weight weighing them down. They don't the guilt, the fear, and all that negative energy has already flown away or subsided, or they let it go. So yes, they can move easier. It doesn't mean that it's harder to reach them after they pass. Sometimes they may just go from this lifetime to another lifetime to do another job. Or they may, so that's why I say yes and no. Sometimes you can't reach them because they're still in the process of writing what they learned, what they didn't learn, reviewing what they did learn, and all that other stuff. That is why I tell people, I'll contact your loved ones, but I prefer to wait a little bit so they've had time to go through all that process. So they can
adjustment.
Right. So they could adjust and then come down.
Yeah, I think in the experiences that I have had over the past, that there are those whom are, as we've termed them, earthbound. And then there are those who are ethereal, but have that capability, that free will to come back and visit. May it be many, 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 many years for you, Glenda, before you pass on, but you want to come back and visit your son and visit your grandchildren.
I'm going to haunt a lot of people. Don't worry.
Haunt the hell out of them.
My list is growing as we speak. No.
Last question from Jeff here. And are you able to pass along healing energy? If you are able to pass along healing energy, is it possible to pass negative energy? It's a good question.
Yes, it is possible. But if you are attuned to Reiki and you continue doing negative things and you continue passing negative energy, what happens is your attunement kind of cancels itself.
Yep.
Because divine energy is supposed to be loving and healing, not destroying energy, not destructive energy.
And I think too, when you're channeling this kind of energy, it's a privilege, not a right.
Exactly.
And if you're not doing it the right way,
it's like driving.
Bingo.
It's a privilege, not a right. It's a privilege
and
to be able to write. And after so many tickets and so many points, they take that privilege away.
So you have that right since the age of 2, and let's put a hypothetical. Sometime later this year, you have an event that just changes your entire energy and persona. Somebody has really wronged you, and you're like, I am gonna just throw a whammy at them. It will quickly dissipate that power because of where the energy intent is coming from.
Yes.
Yes. Well, Glenda, correct. This is how I look at things.
Yeah.
We've all got some, people in our lives that are dealing with some really terrible things, whether it's illness or people are being mean or being bullied. Like, take your pick.
Right.
I think for a lot of us to practice energetic work, know that the universe is going to play it out. Maybe it's a week from now, maybe it's a month from now, maybe it's 20 years from now. But I think those of us who look at source, because I refer to it as source as well, they've already got that handled. Like, I don't even have to get into the mix with any of this stuff because I know that the energetics always play themselves out. I just have to be patient. And my mom always says the best revenge is a life well lived. So I always feel like, and Glenda, I feel like I've learned a lot of this from you. If I just always try to do right by people, be kind to people, always lead with integrity and being a genuinely kind person. If people want to do terrible things, whether it's to me or the people I love, I'm not even going to really get involved because I know that's going to play itself out in the future.
Not only that, it could be something that they need to learn. And then you're stepping into their whole learning experience. So why even bother yourself and take away your own energy?
Yep.
As we close out this hour, we've only got 2 minutes left. It flew by again. This is not a question so much as a comment from Sandy Andrews again. Her daughter Amanda has been learning to put up her protections and been doing a great job. Erin helped her so much. We had the privilege now on our Patreon live town hall on Mondays to meet Amanda. Very, very sweet family, and we're just thrilled to have them as part of our family. As we bring Ken back on to the screen, if you could, Glenda, give everybody all of your information. Those who wish to reach out to you, those who are seeking assistance, guidance with regards to their abilities or lack thereof.
Well, basically, you can just look me up on my website, glendasmagicalcreations.com. But I'm all over. I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Facebook, Twitch, everywhere. Shows. But if you go to my website, there's just hit the contact me, and you could email me directly. And it has all my information there. So.
One of these upcoming shows, Ken, we only got about 30 seconds. I think that we should really have a magical psychic night and just see these powers in action. Maybe fix your neck finally.
My neck has been good.
Better hang on to your
up
seat,
until
George.
the point where I mentioned it.
Yeah.
You get a bunch of sensitives like us together, energy starts popping. We saw that in Vegas. You get enough people with this kind of channeling. Literally, it looks like fireworks of energy on the ceiling. So just
I also want to mention real quick that before we get out of here, Glenda is also an author. It's Sarah's Chrysalis, True Love That Transcended Time and Space. And Glenda, real quick, where can they find that book?
Amazon. Right on Amazon. Just look it up. Yeah, just look up my name and it'll pop up.
There it is.
All right, guys. Thank you ever so much for joining us tonight. We'll see you again next week at the same time. Our Patreon members, we'll see you tomorrow night at Town Hall, 8 p.m. Until then, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great night. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you soon.